chiefs, county commissioners, assistant county commissioners are being forced with threats and blackmail of loss of their jobs if they don't become Azimio operatives.
Nyinyi machief, musikubali watu ambao wanaenda nyumbani in the next 1 week kuharibu kazi zenu. Musikubali kutumiwa kuharibu uchaguzi wa taifa letu la Kenya. Hakuna mtu atawadhulumu, na hata hawa watu wakiwafuta kazi, mimi nawaahidi tarehe 10 tutawarudisha kazi na tuwapatie promotion.
Wilkister, is that the sign of a dysfunctional state?
I think there are games that people play in politics, particularly because we as citizens, young people, we look at, being voted in as you're already in power. However, even within that structure of power, in the grand scheme of things, there's a way you can be sidelined in terms of how, the kind of power that you're given. And some can be stripped away from you, not exactly directly, and in ways that you might not see. And for me, the deputy president looks like he has been stripped of some of this power because he's still in government himself. So for even him to say that wale wanaenda nyumbani in 1 week, he's also going home in 1 week. So, it's a political game in terms of stripping him of power, and he feels the position he is in right now. He's not very powerful. And this is why he's resorting to a lot of public campaigns to sway, public opinion and get really people to his side.
Yeah.
As we are seeing him do, across the country in different places. And the other thing also is the chiefs, the county commissioners, they also have a role to play in terms of how are they going to subordinate their own interests and serve the interest of the people? Because I can also see that they're trying to align. Ordinarily, they're trying to align with people that look like they're going to be in the next government. So it calls for them to also subordinate their own interests, because I don't believe that someone can have you out of your office, with a gun held to your head.
Yeah.
So in as much as they may be doing some of these things in favor of either Azimio or Kenya Kwanza, because both parties are using state machinery in one way or another. So the deputy president is, the president himself is. So they are both using these different workers or different public officers within the ranks, and I think both of them need to sit down and decide to leave alone state machinery and go ahead and campaign as private citizens, because right now they're not campaigning as Ruto being the deputy president and also the president being himself. And we also remember that the president is still the chairperson of the Azimio coalition. So being the chairperson of this coalition, it means he also gets out sometimes to, help the coalition get votes. Yeah. So that's also a problem. But we've also seen in advanced democracies where presidents showed up to help campaign for, members of their party, especially where they were going for presidency and such. I think what is different in our scenario is the fact that our president is using public resources or his office or the power that he has currently to do these campaigns for the Azimio coalition.
All right. But Bashir, the reason why I'm asking whether this is signs of a dysfunctional state or an admission of a dysfunctional state is because of what President Uhuru Kenyatta himself said, and he used a car analogy. Let's listen to what he said earlier on, the soundbite for President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Unaweza kuanza safari na mtu na kwa roho yako you mean well, si ndio? Na unatamani mtamaliza pamoja, yeah? Lakini ukiwa unafika pale karibu, mnaendelea, unaangalia nyuma, unaona kiti ya nyuma imerushwa nje na kuna mwingine ameishika huko, unamuuliza passenger ndio huyo ameporwa mali, mnaendelea, gurudumu imeshuka, unamuuliza wewe fanya repair, badala ya kufanya repair ameenda na hiyo gurudumu ameenda kuuzia mwingine, kuweka kwa gari lingine. Unaendelea, unaona sasa jamani, tukiendelea hii gari haifiki pahali inatakikana kufika. Si ndio hivyo? Inafika wakati unasema, hii hata kama tulikuwa tumekubaliana ati tutabadilishana pale mbele, hapa hakuna kitu tutabadilishana, kwa sababu tutafika pale mwisho hata gari yenyewe itakuwa na chassis peke yake, kuna gari ya kuata ya kupatiana.
Is that a public admission of the president that this was indeed a dysfunctional government?
I think, Trevor, what the president is trying to picture is an ineffective deputy president that he has worked with over time. And I think there is, this is a very interesting election. It's one of the elections that we have last seen an example of it in 2002, when a sitting president endorsed somebody. And I think when we looked at the time of the late President Mwai Kibaki, he never publicly came out to say support person so and so. And I think that played quite healthy. That was quite good. In as much as you may be so much interested in supporting a candidate, as a sitting president, sometimes when you just sit back without clearly coming out to say support so and so, it gives the people more and more comfort. But it is not illegal. Even as a president, you have a right. Your right comes first, even under the Constitution. And you have the right to choose who you want and partake in the political process of our country ordinarily. If I unpack the statement that comes from the president, he is trying to draw an image or to cut an image of a deputy president who has not had a good integrity, who could not appreciate the dictates of Chapter 6 of the Constitution, and who he could not entrust with public resources. Who, in other words, means that anytime he was entrusted with the public resources, there was a lot of embezzlement and misappropriation. That is just what he's trying to. That is the kind of image that he's trying to portray of a deputy president. And Trevor, some of the questions that people of Kenya ask is that why now? Why is the president trying to pose this kind of scenario now? The president, even when he vacates from office, he will still be in our country. He will be a former president who is a citizen of Kenya. He will need a good country to operate and reside in. So for me, I think he has his right to say, the people of Kenya, look, I know person so and so, he has worked with me. I know his problems, I know his misdoings. Please do not make the mistake of voting for that person. Now, you as the deputy president, if you want to now, in as much as you're still campaigning, you also have the right to come to the people of Kenya and tell them, I have been your deputy president, give me the opportunity. And that is the price of democracy. And I think, Trevor, there is no problem with President Uhuru trying to share his opinion at this time. He's just trying to warn the people. That is the kind of material of a person who I have had as the deputy for so long. And, I had to maybe leave him at some point because of according to him, in the words of the president, in the interest of the people of our country. Yeah. But now, the price of democracy is so important. The deputy president has, over time, actually, I think for the last 4 years, has been making constant scathing attacks against the president. We have only seen the president now coming out also, draw the deputy president in bad light. But I think this is more of, when you look at the political podium, it's more of a contest between President Uhuru and Deputy President William Ruto. The deputy president merely addresses the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. He mostly addresses the president. Actually, his biggest problem is the president. According to him, I think he thinks if President Uhuru did not support or has not supported Raila Odinga, he would have defeated him long time ago. And I think that is maybe the thinking of the deputy president. But I think for me, Trevor, the president has the right to comment on the politics of the day to day. The president is not addressing ministers. He's not addressing the police. He's not addressing the military. He's not commanding the military to ensure that the mantle of leadership is given to Raila. He's addressing the people of Kenya. Yeah. You also have, as a presidential contender, you have also the right to tomorrow go there, also give your narrative to the people. Yeah. But I think he's trying to say that I have worked with this person. Do not make the mistake of voting for the deputy president. I think the president, I do not advocate for or I do not appreciate this thinking of saying the president is the chairperson of the Azimio la Umoja coalition and all that. For us as the people, when we get to the ballot, we shall be voting for a president, and that is the president who we shall be holding accountable. Yeah. President Uhuru being the chairperson of a coalition X and Z is not is not in our interest. For us, what we need is the person who is regarded and recognized under the Constitution. Yeah. That is the kind of a person we shall audit come the 9th of August. Yeah. It's a very interesting time. We have not had a president coming out directly to campaign. It's a wait-and-see game. Only that the concerns of, I think, the faction of the deputy president is on the particular day the people will be going to vote. Who is the head of state and government is still President Uhuru Kenyatta. So I think that those are the worrisome issues. I do not see any problems with him expressing his opinion, only that the president should be cautious enough not to plunge our country in darkness.
Yeah. Wilkister, do you agree that the president being the chairperson of Azimio is inconsequential? Like Bashir is saying?
Obviously not, because this is a formal structure of power. Yeah. It's not outside. It's not a hearsay thing of you take this, and everyone keeps quiet. This is a formal structure of power. It's an organizing. It's an entire coalition with political parties and very strong political parties with grassroots presence and all that. So there are roles that I believe the president has as a chair of the Azimio coalition. Yeah. And for me, the clip does raise an issue, especially for the deputy president. I've not had him campaign on the platform of him delivering in his office, because he complains a lot about the second term and the fallout. However, do we even hear him speak about how the first term went and campaigning on the platform of... Exactly, and campaigning on the platform of this is what I delivered and this is how much more I can go for the country and the people given the opportunity. So for him, it's a lot of banter in terms of, you know, naumizwa, nadhulumiwa and stuff like that. So it's an entire emotional campaign, and it has nothing totally to do with his delivery in past, you know, in the government that's aging out come the 9th of August. So the president can be right to a certain degree that, you know, the person I thought I was working with didn't really deliver in his office because we don't see him campaign on that platform. So for me, it seems and it looks true. Yeah.
But Bashir, critics are saying this is political hypocrisy devoid of public interest, because it's not just now that all of a sudden the head of state realizes that my deputy was working against me. They've been together for the last 10 years. So the critics are saying this is political hypocrisy devoid of public interest. It has nothing to do with the public. It's all about their own political interest up there.
Actually, Trevor, you know, the reason as to why we're asking ourselves why these statements are coming out from the president at this stage, you know, the president worked with the Right Honorable Raila Odinga for the last 3 or so years. And, you know, in working with him, I think, in my considered opinion, it has quelled the tension that we have had as a country. There was a lot of tension at the time. There were lots of demonstrations. People were being killed in the name of political demonstrations at the time. So I think for the president to have reached out to the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, it was in the spirit of trying to quell the tensions that were happening around the country. The reason as to why I may not fault the president for coming out at this time is, you know, the first 5 years, President Uhuru Kenyatta needed to be re-elected for the second term. And I think he was not blinded enough to have seen what was happening in the first term. Clearly, he has had a lot of problems with the deputy during the first term of the Jubilee government. But you know, politics is a dirty game. We normally call it, it's the silly season, and silly decisions are normally made that will affect us for the next 5 years. So President Uhuru Kenyatta politically needed the support of the deputy president for the subsequent 5 years of the Jubilee coalition. So he had to wait until 2017 for him to take up the mantle. When President Uhuru Kenyatta assumed the seat from 2017, he had to kick his deputy aside so that he gets an opportunity to serve the people. I think as a president, the Constitution anticipates the deputy president being a principal assistant. You are the sole head of state and government. The deputy president is there to assist you with the day-to-day running of the government affairs. In the event, I think President Uhuru Kenyatta felt the deputy president is not doing him any good. He's not supporting him, and he may not help him attain the aspirations and objectives of the people of Kenya and the Jubilee Manifesto, according to him. Maybe then that's when he realized it is so important to kick the deputy aside and look for those he can work with. And I think he had the leeway to do that. But he's not a bad president in the sense that he did not take away the privileges that the deputy president was enjoying at the time. He was gracious enough to allow the deputy president to continue with what he was doing. You know, what we have actually seen is the deputy president to continue campaigning, attract so many legislators, try and take control of Parliament, the National Assembly and the Senate, to an extent, try and even frustrate the kind of legislations that are emanating from the government.
Yeah.
We have even seen to an extent that the Deputy President had assumed the role of the leader of opposition at some point. But I think President Uhuru Kenyatta has not directly, militarily or security-wise, or by way of taking away privileges that are assigned to the office of the Deputy President away.
Yeah.
He cannot do that constitutionally because these are perks and this is an office that is highly guarded by the Constitution.
Yeah.
The President did not go that dirty way. He is simply now expressing his opinion. He's saying, now it is politically convenient, let's be honest. It's now, his statements are now politically convenient at the time. He's telling the people, I know this person, I have worked with him, he has been my deputy for so long. Do not make the mistake. And the president has children, he has a family, he has a country to live in even after the general election. And he may have a presidential option of his choice. Trevor, for me to also comment on the Azimio la Umoja coalition, the one the president is said to be chairing, you know, we have had a country that has had the political elites that has never enforced political agreements. We have had the NASA coalition. Nobody has talked about it. You know, coalition agreements have never ever been appreciated as much. And I do not actually still have a lot of faith in the person you're going to elect into office being controlled at all. You know, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga is not somebody who has tried to appreciate the politics the other day. He has been leader of opposition for so long. He has tried to vie for the presidential seat for so many times. I think he's somebody who's cut enough to lead the government. In the event the people of Kenya equally elect the deputy president has cut himself a very good image of a self-made politician from where he has come from as a member of parliament, as a minister, as somebody who has ascended to the highest seat, to the second highest seat, being the deputy president. And I think he's also equally well prepared to lead our country.
Yeah.
Trevor, something that is very important to me is the deputy president is trying to also, you know, we're a country that normally is taking advantage of using the apologists' remarks, you know, trying to see how you can win the sympathy votes in a way. I think the DP is also trying to play politics. But for me, I give a lot of credence to the work of the chiefs at the grassroots level. You know, we are a country that is highly, that is so much comprised of rural zones that has majority of Kenyans not being educated enough.
Yeah.
We know the influence of the chiefs on the ground. You know, we have, as a people, we have not seen directly where a chief has been summoned and given money. But what we have seen is on social media, like I've seen constant updates by those on the side of the UDA, in a way trying to call out on Chief X, posting his name on social media. And I think for me, it is not a healthy thing. Yeah. You know, we have a country to take care of even after the general election, and let us not wish away the place of the chiefs. On the part of the chiefs, they should be so much cautious enough. This is an administrative office they are holding. It is the taxpayers' money they are enjoying. They should not immerse themselves in unnecessary politics. Okay. They should be so much interested about administering the public and I mean the security affairs of the locations and the sub-locations.
Yeah, let's see what you're saying online. There's a lot of feedback coming through. Let's read some of them at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. Let's bring that up. You can also text in 22422 is our SMS line. Tell us your name and where you're texting from. Bob Otieno says, court ordering IEBC Kenya to use a manual register. Watch this space. The entire elections will go manually, because it is easiest way to rig an election, especially via stuffing of papers into ballot boxes, okay? Chalo Woodrose says, court has done very well by ordering IBC to use manual register alongside electronic identification of voters. At times, electronic devices can fail, and that's when manual register will come. Everyone should be allowed to vote for his or her preferred candidate, okay? Bernard says, if the biometrics fail to identify the voter, IBC should use another mechanism, say ID number, to identify a voter via the KIMS kit and mark the record. Manual register should only be used for verification purposes, okay? See what else. Honorable Tyson says, some of William Ruto's issues are a concern. When incitement and hate speech is happening in broad daylight and the responsible institutions are doing nothing, then it should be a concern, okay? Anthony Khan says, could the second in command be playing reverse psychology by crying foul in disguise after sensing defeat in order to try and evade humiliation at the ballot? Nico Maingi says, if the DP was this corrupt, the president could have informed the people of Kenya very early instead of waiting for electioneering period. Nobody will take him serious when he's supporting the opponent. Wilkister, did we get it structurally wrong? Article 147(2) talks about the roles of a deputy. Should this have been an appointive position rather than an elective position in hindsight?
In a sense, because the deputy president occupying office means that he was a runner, you know, in the presidential election as well. So him as a running mate means he brings numbers with him. So he does command, you know, numbers in certain parts of the country. And this is where the deputy president draws some of his power from. So for him to occupy office now with the president after the election means that he feels probably, he or she will feel that probably they should, you know, have certain duties that may not necessarily be prescribed by the president directly, but also look at, you know, the collaboration these people have during elections and how they finally end up in office. It means that even the deputy president still has influence towards the priorities of the country, for example, because when we talk about President Uhuru Kenyatta, there's also the Big Four agenda, which at some point looked like they dropped it completely and not to follow through with his legacy through the Big Four agenda. So probably one of the failures of this particular duo was not delivering the Big Four agenda together. And I don't know why the deputy president does not see that the legacy of Uhuru Kenyatta, President Uhuru Kenyatta, is also his own legacy in a sense, because it speaks to how they've worked together and the achievements that they have. But he decided to remove himself from the marriage and say, if anything goes wrong, it's not me, it's the president. And he also needs to come out strongly and just you know, campaign for himself on the platform of his delivery, because the president is decampaigning him on the platform of his misgivings and not being able to utilize state or rather taxpayers' resources well. So I feel like he also needs to come out strongly and use this to his advantage, because the more he uses the emotional banter, in a sense, the average voter will be bought by, you know, what the deputy president is talking about. But there's also a section of voters that the deputy president will not win because he's not speaking about the delivery. And one of the pitfalls also in terms of civic education is we don't really understand the kind of leaders that we should be electing, because people should be in a position right now to question in terms of issues. What are you speaking about? What's your delivery? Of course, we hear in his campaign sometimes he speaks about, you know, his manifesto broken down into small, understandable portions for the average voter. However, we need to have platforms where we question our leaders in terms of issues. So it's not a conversation on, you know, this was done to me, this was wrong, and all that. It should be, this is what I delivered, this is how I hope to continue, or this is the new thing I'm bringing on board in terms of delivery as the next president of the Republic of Kenya. But we don't see Ruto campaign on that platform. He's entirely on nimeumizwa, nimedhulumiwa. So he's playing victim the entire time of the you know, of the campaign, and it might be working to his advantage to a certain degree. And I also want to probably pick one of the issues from the comments, and there's a gentleman who said there might be stuffing of ballot boxes. And we should be cognizant of the fact that even, I think in the questions Azimio raised, how is the vote going to be protected? Is the process going to be free and fair as they envision? And at the polling station, we have different people. We have observers, we have agents. So if anyone fears that there might be a stuffing of ballot papers, there are people there clearly looking at, you know, protecting, quote unquote, the vote for whoever they're representing in that space. Yeah. And agents are representing different political parties or candidates. The observers are generally there to see what's happening. So I feel like this is something that we need to completely throw out the window, because I do not foresee an event where there'll be a stuffing of ballot boxes, because the agents are not going to stand by and watch another candidate rig or rather win the election in a criminal manner. And this also speaks to the election offenses, because it has to do with everyone participating within the electoral process. So the electoral offenses that are linked directly to the voter, the electoral offenses that are linked directly to the staff of the electoral management body, the offenses that are linked directly also to the to the political parties themselves. So if some of these offences occur at the polling stations, then there are also repercussions to these particular, offences, including some, 6 years imprisonment, 1 million fine, 100K fine, 1 year imprisonment. So I don't think anyone in their right mind, either an employee of the IEBC, a voter, or a political party, would want to interfere with an election in a way that puts them at risk of going to actually jail. So I don't think anyone in their right mind would do that.
Bashir, the reason why I'm asking whether we got it structurally wrong, even from the constitutional level, Article 147 talking about the roles of the deputies, part of what President Uhuru Kenyatta himself said, listen to what he said in terms of afadhali mzee mtulivu. Listen for yourself.
Afadhali mzee ambaye ni mtulivu, ambaye hana haja ya kujaza mifuko yake, ambaye atachunga masilahi ya watu yake, badala ya mdomo tamtamu, 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 tamtamu. Lakini akiingia ni wale wa kufanya moja yako, nusu ya mwananchi, mbili yako, na tano yangu. Na mnawajua nyinyi, mnawajua.
I mean, Bashir, in all fairness, he just didn't discover this about his deputy now. That's why I'm saying, did we get it wrong structurally? Article 147(2) talking about the roles of a deputy, but it is almost, it's an elective position rather than an appointive one. So that if you're not happy with your deputy, all you need to do is just fire him and get someone else.
Trevor, the reason as to why, when you look at our constitution, we are having an opportunity to elect a deputy president together with the president is for a very important reason. There's a reason as to why the drafters have put it that way. You see, in the event a vacancy arises in the office of the president, it is the deputy president who assumes that office. So the people of Kenya are given an opportunity at the ballot level. You have an opportunity to elect the person who will assume the office of the president in the event a vacancy arises. And I think that is why that office is elective. In the event it were appointive, we would have had somebody, in the event a vacancy arises in the office of the president, we would see a scenario whereby we would have a president who was not chosen at the deputy presidency level by the people. And I think the way it is drafted, it is making a lot of sense. The other thing, Trevor, is the function of the deputy president is primarily to be the principal assistant to the president. The expectation is that the obligations of our president is so huge. He needs somebody to assist him with the running of the day-to-day affairs of the government. And I think the way the provision is drafted, it makes a lot of sense. In the event a vacancy arises, the people of Kenya know when we go to the ballot come 9th, it's either Justina Wamae or the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua or Martha Karua or Maure's deputy. These are the people who will be the president of the Republic of Kenya in the event a vacancy arises. And these are clear scenarios that may happen. And I think that is why we need it to have it that way. Yeah. When it comes to what the president is saying, Trevor, the number of things I also wish to address. And before I get to that, let me just underscore something. On the 9th of August, when we get to the ballot, the IEBC shall be using the digital register. The concerns that Kenyans are now sharing by saying that there'll be ballot stuffing, there'll be stealing, should not be the biggest concern at the moment. If IEBC ensures that the digital register operates as they were trying to assure us of, if it operates, we will not have a scenario whereby we'll be having to resort to the manual register. So I think the biggest onus, the biggest obligation is on the IEBC. If IEBC gives us an election that is solely reliant on the digital platform, on technology, we will not be talking about a manual register, striking out names, ballot stuffing, and all those things. So I think that is the kind of a scenario we are looking for to other people. The only scenario whereby we are thinking of having a scenario of appreciating the manual register is if technology fails. Let us hope and pray that IEBC shall do its job and assure us 100% of the functional aspect of technology. Trevor, the other thing is, to be honest, the reason as to why President Uhuru is also a bit bitter with the deputy president is, over I think the last 9 years, the deputy president has fashioned himself as a politician who could campaign on his own. The deputy president has made serious inroads in the Mount Kenya region. He has won voters, considerable amount of voters, without using the president. So I think in a way, he has survived politically. He has made a brand, and he has, I think, developed a lot of influence in and outside the Mount Kenya region. And I think the president was expecting the deputy to always be coming to him and maybe seek for his 100% support. But where the deputy president William Ruto has politically positioned himself is that he's able to survive politically even without the president. And I think, in a way, maybe that is why the president is feeling somebody has gone beyond his back and has actually attracted the voters in the Mount Kenya region. Today, to be honest, the deputy president is a serious household name in the Mount Kenya region. I think even when you look at the polls, or at the opinion polls that were released, he's still...
You know, we can't refer to opinion polls at this point, right? It's an electoral offense.
Yes,
so
but
don't even talk about.
But even when we talk about what has been happening in the Kenya, the kind of numbers that are being shared with us, the deputy president is the one who was having a lot of influence in the Mount Kenya region. Okay. Trevor, on the other part, the Jubilee government, to be honest, has not done so much in our country. It has not economically revamped. It has not created as many jobs as anticipated. Yeah. And I think there were so many disadvantages that are being associated with the Jubilee regime. So I think it has also become politically convenient for the deputy president to now stand aside and say, for the last 4 years, the president was working with the former prime minister. These two are responsible of the failures of the Jubilee government, and they should be held accountable for the poor, for the economic downfall that the people of Kenya have had. Yeah. So I think, in a way, when you look at the politics of it, the handshake may not have been so much beneficial or advantageous to the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. It has become convenient for the deputy president to say, to link the two and say, we are in this mess because of these two, despite him being the deputy. It has now become politically convenient for him. Okay,
as we wind up on this conversation now, Wilkister, for the young people, what is this vote going to boil down to? 3 days to go. What will their biggest priority be about? We already know who is contending. What will this boil down to for young people?
Right. For young people, I think it's about electing people who present the opportunities that young people are looking for, because socially, economically, and politically, young people want to see what the government will help achieve for them, particularly with Article 55 of the Constitution that promises measures that the state will take to ensure that young people are catered for in spheres, for example, the political, social, and economic. So for young people, it's about getting out to vote, because the other thing is we're not certain about young people really queuing up to vote in this particular election, because there has been an increasing level of apathy, and it's evident because of the numbers of young people that were registered in 2022. So I feel that the young people who have registered need to be really, cautious about who they elect, and they need to come out to actually vote in the candidates that they want to see, because generally young people feel like it's like the election has been pre-decided. It's like my vote will not count. It's a whole array of issues that's how it's looking for the young people. And I feel like we need to believe, and I'm saying we because I'm a young person as well, we need to believe that our numbers at the ballot will count for something. And in activities or forums that we have had in the community, most of the members in the community talk about, we feel that there's a problem really at the top, because when they vote for a member of county assembly, for example, they say they don't see the same kind of, it's not a high stake seat. So for most of them say it goes smoothly. And the problem really is in the national, the person who represents a figure of unity for the country. Yeah. So I feel like young people will also be looking out for, some of these things, like, is this person presenting an opportunity for young people? And that's why, the campaign platforms for Azimio and Kenya Kwanza are promising a lot in terms of higher education loans board, social security, and opportunities for employment, manufacturing, which also widens the space for opportunity. So for me, to the young people would be show up to vote the leaders that we want to see, and not show up to vote, to vote out someone either because you are angry and then you just decide to tick. The other thing is that young people are still vulnerable, and the elections have not been without push and pulls, particularly the election offenses, where you have some candidates doing voter bribery or things like that. So we need to also be aware as young people that if you're caught doing voter bribery on the day of election, I mean, there's a whole consequence to that, and you should desist from doing it. Because right now there are young people who walikuwa wanafanya kazi ya mjengo, but now they're not going to do that work because
into rallies
young people are into rallies where they can make an income from attending rallies in these spaces or campaigning for people. So in as much as there's the problem of young people being able to fend for themselves, I think we also need to know that in as much as money might find its way to you, because sometimes it does, that should not influence who you vote for on the ballot. So who you vote for on the ballot should present something that works for you 5 years from now, because at the end of the 5-year term, that's when we'll be really able to say that this is what President X or MCA or MP or Senator has achieved for me as a young person.
Yeah.
So we need to be alive to these realities and not just the now, because the cost of living has skyrocketed and young people are really caught in the mix of trying to balance this out, especially for young families and people like that.
Bashir, what should young people voting for the first time keep in mind this time? You said it's a silly season, of course, but there are those who voted several times. But the young people who are voting for the first time, what should they be thinking about as they head into the ballot?
I think it's a very important stage for all the young people. We have had a very bad scenario whereby so many graduates have been graduating from public institutions, from private universities, with no jobs. No, the industrialization sector, no more industries are coming up. The SME sector has been falling. The numbers have been going down. I think we have, as the young people and as young minds of the people in this republic, we have stared at a very, very bad years and seasons, and I think it's so important for us to now correct the mess. We have another opportunity to audit who we shall be voting at the ballot box. We will have an opportunity to see who will be picking our phone calls, who will be passing the necessary legislations at the National Assembly, at the county level. And I think, Trevor, the kind of focus the young minds should be making should not just be at the presidency level. Let us be cautious on who we shall be electing as a member of county assembly, because this will be the person to also influence policies at the county level. When we come to the National Assembly and the Senate as Parliament in general, we need to have good leaders who will be able to come up with good legislations that will be catering for our interest. Those who will be able to cushion us of taxes, abolish the necessary, these tough, stringent measures that are required of us when you're applying for jobs, when we want to form a company, when we want to register a business and all that. We need to be considerate of who we shall be voting. This is the only time that I think the political elites are picking our phone calls, when we call them. This is the time that they are available to us. But Trevor, it's again an opportunity for us to audit those who we shall be given an office. And Trevor, mind you, one thing that is very important is when you look at the 2007 post-election violence report, 2007-2008, the biggest brunt of victims were those who were within the youth bracket. We are again used as agents of violence, and we again suffer serious bouts of attacks and deaths. I think let us not be misused, let us not be abused. Let us act right, let us have a way of protecting our nation. We only have a country that is so much intact at the moment, and we have a country to look at after the post-election, beyond the election. And I think as the young minds who have always been used as agents of violence, this is the time to say enough is enough. For me, it's about waking up in the morning, going to vote for the person you want to vote, and going back home so as to monitor the outcome of that particular election. And I hope this time round there shall be no violence. And myself, I happen to be one of the observers. I'm representing the LSK in this particular election. I'm looking forward to having a scenario whereby the youth bracket shall be voting for young minds, because we believe those are the people who understand their troubles and problems, so that come the next general election, come the next set of 5 years, we shall be having a good representation at both the county assembly, National Assembly, Senate, and also at the gubernatorial levels. That is how we shall be in a position to influence policies at both the county levels and the national levels. We are hoping and praying for a very, very peaceful election this time round. All
right, thank you for coming in this morning. Suleiman Bashir, advocate of the High Court, and Wilkister Aduma, executive director, run for office. I think that's the best place to leave it for now. Roy Tibo is coming up in just a bit. Also, Anthony Khan here on Twitter says, to Kenyan youth, Upholding peace before, during and after elections will be a test for patriotism for your country. If we indeed love our country, we will agree to disagree peacefully on the results and accept the outcome gracefully. I keep saying this because it is important. There are only 1,882 elective positions. There are more than 16,000 people contesting in this election. That means more than 14,000 of them will lose. So statistically, you're most likely going to lose. Therefore, hold your peace. Your neighbor is your neighbor, your friend is your friend. This comes and goes every 5 years. Maintain peace. Bye for now.